Alrighty, folks, and welcome to the Tuesday Live Coffee Discussion with John Willis, Jack Spirko, and I'm Nicole Sauce. And Jack, tell us, why were we talking about cocoa bean before we hopped on to the live stream today?
Because we all agree that when you have to kill an animal and eat it on your property, that it just tastes better if that animal was an asshole. You know, like if you had an animal that was just a troublemaking, annoying pain in the ass, when it comes this time to graduate, then it just has a special additional tastiness when you sit down and consume it, like the jerk ram you guys ate.
Yeah, so leg of Henry was the second leg of Henry was served last night, and Henry was a ram that was a beautiful ram. And I bought him as part of the flock I got from Dawn. And before she sold it to me, she's like, I think I need to process this guy before I give you these sheep because he's an asshole. And I was like, no, it'll be fine. And then I was like, oh yeah, he's got to go. He knocked Tactical on his butt once. He went after somebody who was sheep sitting for me and ran across the pasture. And the only reason she didn't get hit is she stepped to the side and did that. And then she's like, I'm never looking after your sheep again, Nicole. And I'm like, okay, that dude's got to go. So he was tough in life and he was tough in death, which is why I cooked that leg low and slow. Well done. Yeah, that one was not a medium rare because it would have been medium rare shoe leather. What?
If you go low and slow long enough, everything is tender.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is tender. That's TOA 3006 when that happens, man. Like, reach for the rifle, bango, done. I mean, no, you can't have asshole animals that hurt people.
Crystal says most rams are a-holes, but I have two that are not. So Floki likes to come up and get scratched on his back, and he's the friendly emissary, and I like his genetics. And then Timmy is the same way, which is why Timmy's with us. So when we assessed who was going to the processor, anybody with a collar on goes to the processor because that means they got sick. I had to catch them. I put a collar on them to catch them and to deal with them. And then I don't want them to pass their genetics on. So that's one way. But then anybody who was not friendly was like, yeah, you're gone.
Yep.
So, yeah. We also had the escape artist who did pass on his genetics because he had really good genetics from a St. Croix standpoint. But he also went to the processor a little later in the year because once one starts getting out, they teach everybody else to get out, and then everybody's getting out, and you cannot leave that in your flock if you want them to stay in.
That's what Greg Judy said. He kills them right on site when they get out.
Yep.
Because that way the other ones are like, oh, I see. I see how this works. I don't think I want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, there's got to be that one that's like the David Ram that's like, come on, dude, you can do it. I mean, out and back in before he even knows, right?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. You know you can do it. Nah, push, you won't do it.
I think the David Ram's going to be a whole new, just code word for things.
The David Ram.
It's the David Ram, the one operating in the background. So John, tell us about your shirt. Is that the Monday shirt?
Yeah. It just says, try that in a small town.
Love it.
Yeah.
Is it David Aldean? Aldean.
Jason Aldean.
Jason Aldean.
Yeah.
I kept seeing the videos posted. I kept seeing people talk about it for a couple of weeks. Never paid any attention to it until somebody in one of the local Facebook groups here was completely up in arms. And I knew if she didn't like it, I probably would like it. So watched the video, and I thought, wow, we got to do a shirt of this. So here's the shirt. It says we take care of our own on the back, and that's it right there. We just got them last night. So you guys will have yours in a couple days here.
Did we just find a new marketing technique or a marketing form? They call it the Karen effect.
Oh, but it's
Karen funnel.
Karens hate it. It goes viral. Like, that's just.
Yeah.
Yep.
By the way, John, I had the last shirt you sent me, the Constitution one. I was going to wear it today, but I wore it yesterday, so it would stink.
Yeah, no worries, man.
But it was a lot of people commented on it. That shirt just freaking looks good.
It does. I love the
cool
design.
Shirt. It's like fashionable, like badass. Like,
so we saw somebody else do something kind of like that. And when I told my guy, I'm like, hey, let's do this. When he actually enlarged, he's like, hey, these aren't words. They didn't write any of the words out. So my guy went through, typed them all out, translated them, transferred them, and ours actually have the actual Constitution on there.
Yeah.
Right? words.
Yeah, it's the preamble and article 1 on the back, and then it's We the People. But the We the People coming down the side vertically, it just looks great.
Yeah,
well, and the letter is subtling. The lettering is subtle.
Yeah.
Which is nice about that shirt.
Anytime I wear anything with a flag on it, old men come up and women of all ages. Women come up and they kind of whisper. They're like, I really like your shirt. Like they're not supposed to like the shirt.
Oh.
Home Depot, Lowe's, Costco, Sam's Club.
Yeah, my shirt. So I wore the New Normal shirt, which is a very old shirt, at Aldi this week. And I walked in. Nobody's ever said anything about that shirt to me. And it got this one guy like so excited that I was wearing that shirt. And he was like going off on like vaccines and everything. And kind of every time I saw him in the store, he had more to say. And I was like, man, this shirt really got a reaction today. And it's like 3 years old.
That's when you tell him, hey, pull your phone out. And you pull up his Instagram and subscribe him to you.
Yeah. I told him to come to Self-Reliance Festival.
I don't tell him anymore. I'm like, hey, pull your phone out. And then I pull them up and I subscribe them to Self-Reliance Festival or SOE or wherever I want. Call to action. I make them do it right then, and then they're done with it. And then now we're on their radar.
That's a great idea. I'll remember to do that next time.
Because
I didn't think about that. I thought that might be too forward and flirtatious. Oh, there we go. On shirt. Are there still some available?
I don't know. I'm probably some.
I'm not
sizes.
sure. I had to. It didn't come up on the regular sort. I had to search for it, but I didn't try adding it. But I'll drop the link in the chat.
Thanks.
Because that is one of the best looking T-shirts I own now.
Yep. John does good work. Okay, guys, in the live chat, if you have questions for us, put them in all caps. Otherwise, we're just going to talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about.
I've changed it. Put the word question in all caps and then your question, because people abuse the all caps and then we're confused.
Okay, put the word question in all caps.
Yeah.
And don't piss off the Ika mouse so we can get that banner going in a second.
We will. She is in the house.
So, Jack, let's talk about what you're going to talk about. You know what that means, right?
No.
You're coming where in October, and what are you going to talk about?
I announced it yesterday. I will be at Self-Reliance Festival with these two in October, 14th and 15th, I think, either that or 14th and 15th. And if you when you hear me talk about the David effect or my buddy David or whatever, if you want to meet him, he's going to be my wingman driving up there. So
that's just a good dude. Like you can't talk to David and not walk away with a different energy, right? And knowledge too. Like you could go up, you should try to stump David because chances are whatever you're throwing at him, he probably knows more about it than you know.
Especially if it's like plumbing, mechanical, engineering, all that crap, man. Like, yeah, he'll bury you.
And he has a strange knowledge of medieval history.
Oh, yes.
As everybody should.
It's just weird shit, period. The weirder, the better, right? He likes weird shit. So he likes John's place. Because John's like the king of weird shit.
Yeah, you two are like soulmates in the eclectic collection of stuff factor.
The last time we were up there, right, he was downstairs and I was up in the little retreat and I found the prison shanks and I just took a picture of it. I didn't say anything. I just texted it to him and it comes back like 30 seconds later. I'll be right up.
I just bought one of those like 1960s green medical color. You know that green, not avocado, but like a lighter green like this avatar picture right here. An examination table with the stirrups and everything. The old crazy, one of those whole things. I just bought that.
I saw that on Instagram. I didn't know you'd bought it.
Oh, if I ever show it on Instagram, I always bought it.
Yep. Oh, that's good to know. Did you buy the death bike?
Yes. Yeah, I bought the bike. We bought the sewing. We bought a beautiful Singer sewing machine with a treadle on it.
Oh, nice.
100% complete. Just the cleanest I've ever seen. And then that gentleman's closet with all the metal fittings and everything. That looks like it came out of like an old Nordstrom's or something. It's a beautiful piece of huge furniture, and it opens up and it says socks and braces and ties. But I'm gonna put skulls or something.
So for people who don't know what a death bike is, it's the one where both your feet and your arms go. And the reason I call it the death bike is it doesn't look like it's going to be hard. And then you get on it and your heart rate is through the roof, and it's really hard. It's an awesome workout if you're looking for that. Okay, we got a question in from Mr. Greg T. Should you release a few tigers on the property during Self-Reliance Festival to see how truly self-reliant people are? John, what say you?
Nicole always vetoes that. I am always of that path. So if you want to go down that path and not include Nicole, but Nicole wants to help people become self-reliant, and I'm of the belief that if you show up, you should kind of be self-reliant. So yeah, she wants to feed people and chairs and the whole deal. So probably
I even give them access to water, man.
Yeah, I think they should have to dig their own water.
Yeah. We should do a well digging demo. That would be fun.
There's some good videos about guys hand digging wells.
Yeah.
You dig a hole here 10 feet deep, you're going to have water at probably 6. I mean, we're
a PVC water pressure hand drill.
Yep, pneumatic. That's how they were doing it out in the desert in Henderson and Vegas.
Yeah.
Bring it. I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take it.
You want this? Are you getting breakfast?
I'm getting coffee.
Coffee, even better.
I had taken care of myself, but she made me another pitcher. So
Is it Holler Roast or is it that other roaster?
No, it's Holler Roast today. It was the other roaster yesterday. I was cheating on you.
What do you think of that honey process I left? Do you like that?
I like it. I like it.
Do I need to put the rest of it in a secret closet and not roast it until you want some? Huh?
Maybe. I don't know. I could stand for it to be even a darker roast, though.
Oh, okay. I can go Siegler on
like
it.
A Siegler, yeah, like a Siegler roast.
John, what were you going to say?
I don't know what I was going to say.
Cool.
The death bike, though, is cool if you wanted to add another cog to it, and then you could use it to generate electricity.
So this is a stationary bike.
It's a stationary bike for your arms, and it's a workout, man. It's more workout than rowing.
It's like the ski ones, but it's a bike.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm buying up all the old time gym stuff, right? I want to set up a gym that looks like the gym from the Titanic. So like old time stuff.
Like a triangle deadlift.
Yeah, and the belly shaker and the speed bag and all that shit.
I'm sure the belly shaker works.
I'm sure everything except the belly shaker works. Right? I think if you're moving weight, you're doing work and you're building muscle.
Yeah.
I don't think the belly shaker did anything.
Well, it'll just shake the fat right off, right?
Yeah.
And where does it go? To your butt.
To your butt. It makes it all that. It's like when you're packing something and you keep tamping it to settle everything.
Yeah.
Except it just settles fat into your ass.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's got to be it. Okay, question. Thoughts on e-bikes? I'm thinking of doing a Hub 750 on a recumbent bike, but question the safety of lithium batteries. I know nothing about e-bikes except for what they are.
So there's a lot of e-bikes coming in at lower cost, and you don't know what kind of circuit protection's in those batteries and charge systems. There's a lot of videos of guys who have Ring cameras in their house or whatever, and boom, their bicycle explodes, like literally explodes. Now there's a lot of really good technology out there also. I know people that have the Super 73s. I know there's some really good bikes out there. I mean, we're all leaving cordless batteries plugged in full time in our house on all of our equipment and drills and such now. So obviously there is stuff out there that we do trust or, are concerned. Even when I bring in brand new high-end stuff, I still plug it in only when I'm here and make a conscious effort to unplug it until I've, used it a few times just in case. But as far as those bikes, why do you want an electric bike, right? I very much like the appeal of it because I can charge it off of solar panels. Yeah. And I can use it for other things. Now, recumbent bike, I see as like end of the world. I'm not riding a recumbent bike. But I mean, that's you. If you're using it for everyday use and you like the idea of being able to steal electricity from the sun, more power to you. If we're talking end of the world kind of stuff, who's maintaining roads? Are you really going to ride a recumbent bike? But I think that there's millions of reviews out there now, and the technology is tested and proven. So go with what you want, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really
if it's for the end of the world as you know it, is that the best place to put your money? Like if you're not using it, I don't know. I feel like you could do something more for yourself that sets you up to be more resilient than an e-bike.
The company went out of business, but there used to be a company that made a front wheel, replaced the front wheel of any bicycle. It used gasoline, and like a water bottle of gasoline would run this thing for a day. And it was amazing. And it went out of business because they tried to save the world instead of sell product.
So there's companies still making them. We have a lot of them in this town because guys get DUIs.
Okay.
And they can ride that without while they're still prohibited. They also buy the little Coleman. They buy the little Coleman motorcycle from Tractor Supply.
Okay.
Because that falls under the threshold also of needing a motorcycle license.
Where there's a market, there's a way, I guess.
Yep.
That is a thing. That is a thing. Okay, Jack, will your grill be retired by the Schwank?
It won't be retired, but it's going to get used a lot less. That thing is amazing. It's a salamander broiler. The 2 broiler elements burn at 1,500 degrees. I put up a video last night of some pork chops we made and some poblano peppers. And my God, that was just amazing. It's like having a restaurant in your house. I'm going to reach out to them and see if I can get some kind of deal done for members or something. For those that don't know, that was a gift that was given to me by a significant number of folks in the TSP community at our 15-year party. And I am so grateful. Dorothy wants to do a video thanking everybody by name, but every time we're ready to do the video, she's not ready to do the video. So we're going to get to that.
Eventually.
But right now, I mean, the grill is more for like finishing things that need to go low and slow. And I have a Blackstone, whatever you call them, like griddle.
Yeah.
And like those are going to get used more for when I got to cook a lot of food. Man, if I'm going to cook 2 steaks and that thing's sitting there, I mean, it's John, you got to get one.
Yeah.
You got to get one.
Yes,
like I know you and Amanda, and you need one of these in your life.
We recently got, there's a company on Instagram called Forever Stoves. And every day he cooks something on this rocket stove that he makes.
Okay.
And he caught me about 1 a.m. in the morning, and I happened to send a message, and he replied back. So I bought one. And this thing, man, it's an angle in and it's an angle up. It has this little port in the bottom. You stick some newspaper in there and throw some pencils, twigs, pieces of pallet. And then once it's going, it gravity feeds and the wood just falls down the shaft.
Awesome.
Man, it does. It will take a cast iron pan and have that thing just on fire, burning red in a couple of minutes. It's super, super cool. But the coolest thing is the content that he produces, and he builds them out of his garage in Colorado.
That's a good way to do things, is actually use the thing you build.
That's
to
how he
make
got me.
content that sells it, right?
Yep. That's how he got me. I watched it, and then
you bought one?
Oh yeah, it's awesome, man. And then
salamander.
Yeah, for sure. And then I went downstairs and cooked dinner at like 2 a.m. in the morning again.
You might be able to, because you got space that I don't have. I was going to buy eventually, because when these things, when I first found out about them like 20 years ago, you couldn't touch like a restaurant grade one for less than like 15 grand. And I'm like, I don't like it that much. And they got to where they're like about $3,000 for like a restaurant level one. Yep. Until I found out they're 3.5 foot long and 2.5 foot deep. Yep. And I'm like, I just don't I don't need that. And then these things came out, and I was going to buy one, and David told everybody about it, and they shipped it and got me one. So that's.
Well, he said you were sending him links to it like every 3 days.
Yeah, something like that.
Or something related to it. And so now what we're getting from Jack are pictures of what he's cooked on it every night.
Yeah, make sure
it's like, what else can I cook on the salamander tonight? And then I will send my friends pictures so they are jealous.
Ribeyes about that thick tonight.
Man, you ought to start. Just take all your meals you cook and put it on your Instagram, Jack, and then tag them. And then when you hit them up, you'll be on their radar. They'll be ready to go.
I threw it up on TikTok, and I have like 5 followers there, and but some of them got like 800 views.
You only have 5 followers on TikTok?
Something like that. It's not a lot. I didn't even tell anybody I have.
We'll change that today.
I didn't even tell anybody I have. There's like 3 videos on it, and they're all cooking.
What's your name on TikTok?
Jack Spirko. No, the Modern Survivalist, I think. I don't know.
Modern Survival.
Let me see.
I'm looking. Go follow Jack on TikTok. Except for I can't find Jack on TikTok.
The Modern Survivalist.
The Modern Survivor. That's a long name.
Yeah.
That's what that was his original handle on ar15.com.
Yeah.
That's how I found you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got 88 followers.
You've got 88 followers.
Wow.
You're killing it.
Wow. I have 4 videos there. One shows how TikTok is shadow banning people.
Yeah.
I will grab one of your videos and then say something really mean about it, and
Okay,
I'll do a split, and then boom, they'll go see what's up.
Yeah.
So the one I did on shadow bans, I figured out what it is. If you follow people when you're in a browser, it doesn't take on TikTok. If you follow them on the mobile app, it takes. If you follow them on the browser, when you refresh it, you're not following them. Why they've done that, I don't know. But I don't think it's like what I thought it was. I thought it was like literally like they just don't like these people anymore, so they started doing like this unfollow thing like YouTube does. But as soon as it was Bearded Butchers is who I wanted to follow, and as soon as I went on the app and did it, no problem.
That makes sense, because if we load the same video to Instagram and TikTok, even without watermarks, the algorithm knows.
Yeah.
But if we load it from the computer, the algorithm does not know.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I am locked out of my TikTok on my computer. Tic Tacs. Only 1 calorie. That's just like from the 80s. Let me just go on a total ADD chat. So I've been trying to log in for 3 days from my computer because I found out I could load from the computer, because last time I tried I couldn't, and it locked me out and said try again later, and it will not let me in. So I have not figured. I'm like, I guess I have to reset my entire router now. So
Try
frustrating. Yeah, I could go incognito, I guess, but I've been trying to get more short form video up lately, and so it's all so I have this whole process because I can't get it in on my computers. I like write the words on my computer so they're big enough so I can see them, and maybe just for once in my life not have a typo in something I post. And then I put it in Telegram, and then I paste it from Telegram to TikTok because I have to from my phone.
Yeah,
it's a big pain in the ass.
Throw it in ChatGPT and tell it to fix it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Act as an editor. Do not make any modifications to voice or style or words. Like, make a cheat sheet. Anybody using ChatGPT, make a cheat sheet for shit like that. And then all you have to do is copy, paste, drop it in. Yeah. And then Tom clued me in on something I didn't know about, like when you're about getting it to different places and being able to copy and paste it, one place or another. There is a thing on Telegram that's like saved messages or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can send it there, and then you can always get it. Because I've literally used Telegram. I've done shit like, send you a message on Telegram just so
ignore
I can
this
on another computer. Like, just ignore this. It's for me. I'll send it to my wife like that, and I can, grab it from somewhere.
I private message it to myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I use saved messages all the time. That's what I was using this morning. And it's a great little trick, but sometimes it's so far down in my feed that Poor Tactical gets like the ignore this series. I'm sending myself random thoughts on this walk. Ignore this. So it seems like there should be a better way to do that.
Yes.
There probably is.
Well, you have Apple, so just put it in your notes and it's on every Apple device.
I don't have an iPhone though.
Oh.
Yeah. I was testing an app that would let me integrate with my Apple things, and it was not working well. So we'll see. I'll find something.
If you're on Nostr has some of the clients. So like Snort has, when you go to DMs, there's one note to self. So
Tom has the solution.
So there's anywhere you have a Nostr client, you can find your stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I like Nostr a lot. Aren't you going to talk about Nostr at Self-Reliance Festival?
A little bit. We're going to talk more about AI than Nostr, but we're going to talk about both of them so that all of the holdouts can figure out that they're being left behind right now in a technology race that the people you're competing with, they're going to use that technology.
Yes, they already are. They're already kicking our butts, man.
I feel like this. Like, I have the paid version of ChatGPT and the paid version of Midjourney. I'd like to go all open source and do what Guy Swan's doing it all and put it on my own local machine. I don't have time for that right now. It cost me $40 a month for both of those. For $40 a month, I hired a copywriter, a research team, an editor, a team to bounce ideas off of, and a graphics designer for $40 a month. That's what I get out of the deal. And the weakest player is the graphics designer. You have to say it like 5 times to get what you want out of it.
Yeah.
But that's like having a graphics designer anyway. right? Like if you have a graphic designer right in the chair, you're like, move this over here, right there. You walk away, you come back, and you're like, what did I tell you to do? You said to move this over here. And did you do that? No. Well, why not? Because I don't think it looks good. Okay, so you're fired.
There's entire YouTube channels, and all they're doing is running other people's videos they're ripping and running them through ChatGPT and re-uploading. Yeah. And the new channel with less followers has way more views than the original content off of big channels have.
Yeah, there's tons of stuff like that. You can tell that they're using AI-derived narration and they're repackaging other people's stuff.
Yep.
Like in the crypto space, they're doing it hugely with Michael Saylor. Like you see 100 Michael Saylor videos come out a day and they have nothing to do with Michael Saylor, honestly.
Yeah.
They're just, and you'll hear that voice come in with the stock video images. I watched one guy, he put out exactly how to do this using all the AI tools, including the video editing. And he's like, he made this thing of like 8 fruits that are good for you or some shit like that. And he did the whole thing in like 15 minutes and it was very professional looking. And all of the video like shorts were part of, I don't remember what AI tool he was using, but they were all part of that. He could select your own narrator and everything. And so GPT wrote the script. He dropped it in, picked the little, like when he did blueberries, he just searched for blueberries and pick a stock video he wanted, cut it. And he was like, I put out 20 videos like this a day in 20 different niches, building 20 different channels.
Yep.
And it wasn't terrible content. It's the kind of content people watch. They're 3-4 minute videos, like not really short form. They're more like mid form. And they have just enough going on to keep people's attention. And I don't know how much he's making, but, if he's doing 20 different ones, what'll happen is 1 or 2 will catch. That's a shotgun approach, and then whichever ones catch, then you pour it onto those. That's what You were telling me though, Nicole, there's because I would like to put more short form content out of my podcast. That there's some tool that's supposed to just automatically pick the.
I texted you the name of that tool. Oh. It is one word.
Okay.
I haven't played with it yet, but we learned that from Davian McKnight when he was on. And it's a generator, and I have it all set up, and I just need to choose a video, put a link in there, and see what it does. That's probably going to happen this week. But that I'll tell you if it's cool. But I did. I'll retext it to you after this, so it's at the top of your chat. But that's something I'm really looking forward to messing with.
Look what Tom's saying here. Tom, my web god, has said ChatGPT just wrote the starting program for me to transcribe and timestamp Jack's podcast. Foreshadowing, because we're talking about like if we could package a basic plugin set that did that, we've got a product, right? That's a product for anybody with a podcast on a WordPress blog.
Yeah,
because then what you could do is you could use the search function that's integrated into WordPress, search for content, find the transcriptions that have everything said in the podcast. And when you see the one that you're interested in, instead of listening to that whole podcast, you could click that timestamp, the one right before it, and then you would get just that piece of content you were looking for. And that's something sorely missing in podcasting. I've got 3,400 and something episodes. There's a lot of fucking knowledge there. Sometimes I'll listen to old episodes when I'm screening stuff to do rewinds, and I'm like, I didn't remember that I knew that.
That's the beauty of a podcast. Well, and it's the same on YouTube. Like some content creators take the time to timestamp where things are. And I always appreciate it when they do, although I never do. So I understand why a content creator would not take the time to do that. Being able to automate that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Like I'm feeling it as I learn how to weave from YouTube University, not weave, but spin from YouTube University. It's like, I just want to know this one thing. And it's a half-hour video. And I'm like, dropping the cursor in there to try to get to the thing that I need to see.
I have an AI browser plugin that immediately transcribes YouTube videos, and it works. The problem is when you pull the text out, it's the thing I can't read, and it's an hour of it, a giant jumble. There's no paragraph breaks. It's just this stream of text, and they should just program a thing. Just put a paragraph break in every 10 freaking sentences or something. Just something.
Yeah.
It's just awful. Like you can't, and it's like a text file, so it's as big as the window.
Yeah, no fun. What were you going to say, John?
We had a guy, Jeff Zarge, would go through and listen to all of our podcasts and then build a table of contents for what was in them. But it'd be nice to have something that would actually crawl through, like a web crawler that would crawl through all of those podcasts and catalog it some manner for you.
Yeah, if you can do that, you could go back and do all 3,000 plus episodes, which would be an enormous task to manually do.
Like Jack's search bar on TSP is really good. I can go in there anytime I'm trying to send a link to a Celis Academy or articles or, podcasts that Jack's done. I can just type in a Celis Academy and it'll pull up 20, and then I can take the top 2 or 3 and plug them into our local Facebook groups all the time here.
Yeah. This is good. What a good idea. When you slide the timeline on a YouTube video, it shows peaks of viewing. Something just needs to clip those peaks and make it into shorts. Yeah. See, I saw the look on your face. You're like, dang, that's a good idea.
No, it's right in analytics. You can look right at it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That has to be accessible through a YouTube API.
Yep.
Unless
Okay,
they
so
don't want to, because they're starting to do chapters and shit automatically if you don't. So they may want to hold on to that.
So Jack, I have this dream for you at Self-Reliance Festival, but I'm not sure if I'm going to realize it.
Okay.
I want to have a panel discussion, sort of debate with somebody who's skeptical of artificial intelligence.
Great.
And I'm saying this now because I need somebody who's skeptical of artificial intelligence from a more reasoned point of view and less spiritual point of view to come on and talk to Jack, because I think that would be a really cool discussion.
Well, I'll have a technical discussion. I'm happy to do that. I don't want to have a discussion with somebody that's convinced it's a demon.
Right.
I can't have that discussion. I can't. I can't take the person seriously. I'm sorry.
She's saying that because we haven't found him.
Yes. So if you're listening to this and you're like, actually, there are ethical reasons I think it's a bad idea or whatever it is, that would be an interesting conversation to witness. If it's just straight up, it's a demon, then the conversation ended right there, because what are you going to say to that?
It's up there with
you're like so far apart from each other that you're not having any conversation. So yeah. So if you are hearing this, email me, Nicole at livingfreeintennessee.com, or go to livingfreeintennessee.com and click on contact and reach out to me. And if you can't remember that, but you can remember Self-Reliance Festival, that contact form goes to me as well. All the contact forms go to me. So anyway, for Jack, can't Chat GPT format that massive text from the automated transcript?
It can, but with a long video, you would have to do it in blocks still, because there's a limit to how many characters that you can give it at one time. There is some really cool shit you can do with it, though. So my wife has wanted to get this book translated from a weird older form of Dutch forever, that is the story of her family and her grandfather and her father during World War II. And when we've used things like Google Translate, there's enough difference in this old form of Dutch that it doesn't really translate well. So her and her sister are now teaming up, and one's working from the back of the book forward, and so that they don't replicate each other's work. And they're dropping this Dutch in, and they're basically just telling GPT, when it doesn't read well, do your best to fix it. And it's making a very clear picture of what the story is actually about. And there might be a word or two that's different than intended, but the story will finally be known to the family. This book's called Cappy Marie, and it was her grandfather's call sign during World War II as part of the underground. And so we're taking this book that's long out of print, that there's just really no way we can financially afford to do a translation of the book. Because even once we do it, there's still a copyright on it for another 40 years. And who knows what would come of it if we tried to sell it or do it as a Kickstarter or something. And, we could end up sued by some distant relative of the guy that wrote it. But we'll at least have it internally, and then we can do print on demand just for the family. So every family member will have a copy of that book. Until ChatGPT, there was no way to do it. We've been trying to figure out how to do it for 10 years. And any translator wanted $10,000 to do it. And it just, without having
it's a big book.
Rights, right?
It's a big book, or?
It's fairly large. It's, it's a typical book. And it's about when the Nazis invaded the Netherlands, it's everything that happened, and their family is featured through the entire book, and it's some harrowing shit too. I mean, like there's my father-in-law was in his teens when this all happened, and he ended up, for instance, dropping off a briefcase full of Nazi uniforms with other underground members. And his dad told him, you go to this door, knock on the door 3 times, and look at the floor. When the door opens, set the suitcase down, turn around and walk away. Do not look at them in the face. Do not see them. Right? And that's the kind of shit that was going on. And they were working with the underground. They were killing Nazis. They were getting people out of the country. And this guy was a police chief. And they left him in his job. They threw him out of his station and took it over and made it a headquarters. But they left local law enforcement in place because they needed someone to maintain order. So he was able to get away with a bunch of shit. And when they were trying to track him down, they were looking for a woman. So it took almost to the end of the war. They finally caught him. He ended up in a concentration camp. And this dude was like 6'1". And he was like 90 pounds when he got out. The Allies liberated that camp like one day before they were going to shoot this dude. They shot the dude that was in the cell with him that day. And then that night they came in and took the camp over. So like, that's just like, this is something we can do now as normal people. I don't have to study, mid-century Dutch or some shit to figure out how to translate this book. I'm using this robot, which is just a large language model, to do this for me.
Well, and I bet you translators are using that robot too to do the work for them, and then they go through and they clean it up.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
because I used to work in the translation industry, and you were looking at, we were paying between 10 and 20 cents a word for translations from whatever to English or English to whatever. And we had expensive computer programs that would analyze a translated text, compare it to the original text, and tag what different phrases meant, so that next time you got an update of that book or another similar text, you could compare them and it would translate 50%. And then you had to go back and do the rest. And that was a huge money saver at that time. But now, I mean, I can only imagine what that's like when you're getting ChatGPT to do that. And love what you're doing. Thanks from Rick Gates. Thank you so much for the super chat, wherever you sent that.
We're also using a tool that takes the text from a picture. So instead of typing all this weird Dutch shit, my wife just takes a picture of the page, does a text grab off, it drops that in a GPT, gets that all nice, and then does the next one, and then does the next one, and does the next one. And her sister's doing the same thing. So they're not even typing it. And, I don't think a lot of people know this. I know Brave does it. I don't know how many other browsers do it. If you see an image with text and you right click on it, you can just take the text right off of the image. Like that's integrated into Brave. Like that's the one I use, and I use Impervious. It also works in that. I don't know what other browsers it does or doesn't work in.
Hey, Ika Mouse is asking about she's killing rabbits and her chickens and won't eat the rabbits, is what my understanding there is. Let your chickens be hungrier; they'll eat it. We took entire hogs, all the skin and all the innards from the processing, dumped them in the chicken pen. It took them a couple days, but they ate it. And then when it got all the maggots, the chickens came and ate all the maggots. And then the dogs carried the skull around, and then the chickens chased the skull around and pulled all the skin off. And it looks like the skulls are completely bleached. Now, if she's asking about how to lower the in her garden, can you fence the garden? We have woven wire around the entire property that's 2x4. Wild rabbits can't get through it. It's literally 2 inches by 4 inch. So if you could T-post that and get some of that red top wire from Tractor Supply, that should, I don't know how big your garden is, but that is a solution, and it's worked here for us.
Yep. I think if you expose some of the blood, that helps too, to get chickens started. And once they figure it out, it's on. Like we're using, I actually stole the idea for how to contain it from you, Jack, where I have a box in the chicken yard of cinder blocks so that there's a ridge. And then I just put all the scraps in there. And if it looks like it's going to get smelly, I throw wood chips in with it. And I watched yesterday because the first time I put it in there, they were like, what is that? We're not going near it. And then somebody figured out it was tasty. And now every time I come down there, they're just waiting for me to get far enough away so they can jump in there and check it out. And then I watch them chase each other all over the yard with like the tidbits. So I've been putting bones in there and the bones are gone. I'm like, surely the chickens are not eating the bones. Like chickens don't eat bones. And now I'm going to find a bunch of little riblets all over that yard later, I'm sure, because
they probably run away with them to clean them off, and then they just guard them. They can't break a bone like that.
You could also take the part that you're not able to get the chickens to eat and do soldier flies with it. Just put it in a 5-gallon bucket hanging. You could also take any of that rabbit and feed it straight to your dogs. Your dogs will eat it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will. Ask me how I know. I have a freezer full of rabbits with fur on, so I can throw them to dogs at this point.
Same. We feed whole rabbits. Yep.
Yeah, and it's a great, like, once I figured out how to make rabbits make more rabbits, which took me like a year and a half.
Yeah.
It's now like another bunch were born. I don't know how many are in there. I haven't gone to count, but we've had them on a pretty even keel just from 2 does.
So what you have is a toy and food in one. It's like a big plush chew toy. Plus
it is
food.
Yeah.
You can give them a rabbit sickle in the summer.
Yeah. Here's your rabbit sickle.
If you ever see, like we have so many chickens here, if you have a chicken that has a prolapse and it stays out, the other chickens will literally eat that chicken from the ass end. You'll find a chicken and the whole back end, its guts will be pulled out, and that chicken's still running around, and the other birds are eating it. Chickens are very vicious. They will eat anything.
They are little raptors, man. They're little freaking dinosaurs.
Yes,
I believe the theory because I've seen the behavior.
Yep.
Okay, Chuck, the question here is, how is Tactical's head shaved? It is shaved.
Oh.
It is definitely shaved. And the wound itself never got infected. It's to the point where I don't have to clean it like for him every day. And it healed great. So he's going to have a scar up there. So he can't be entering the top of his head in any beauty contests, but he'll be all right.
His hair will grow back. You'll never see.
Yeah, and it was great. Like, he really didn't want to go to the hospital or get antibiotics for this, which they would have put him on antibiotics for the gash he got on his head. So Chuck Peoples, who is the Homestead medical guy, who is doing an add-on workshop at Self-Reliant Fest about caring for this kind of wound long-term, because once you stop the bleed, you still got to keep the person from getting an infection and keep them alive. So he's doing a whole session on that and sending you home with a kit. And that is at selfreliancefestival.com. Anyway, I was able to email him pictures and say, like, what would you do? And he's like, yeah, I could have used a staple or two, but now there you are, and this is what you can do.
Yeah.
And it was really nice to have his input on that, because while I have done that for my dogs, I've never done that for a human head before.
Human head.
A human head. Yeah.
You tune in here, you never know what you're gonna hear.
So Eka Mouse, I'm talking about it's a 2x4 wire mesh. Wind will blow right through it. It's costly. It's expensive, but once it's there, it's there.
This is what we use. Wind doesn't do nothing to it because it doesn't have anything to push on.
Yep.
I use the welded wire and it's fine.
Welded wire.
Talking about
welded wire will work. I use the woven because we had goats originally. Goats will break welded wire. Welded wire will save you a little bit of money. And then on your corners, you need your H posts. We use 6-inch posts for that. We use 6-inch posts if we're going to have gates. And then we use a 4-inch post and then 2 T-posts. So every 6 feet, 4-inch wood post, T-post at 6, T-post at 6, and then another 4-inch post. And we did the entire property out of that.
Yeah, and stretching the fence is a big deal too. Like when I first started putting fence up, I didn't know what stretching was, so it ended up all floppy. And like we'll do a demo here of how to stretch a fence for anybody who comes and asks for it, because that's something that once you know how to do it, it's relatively easy to do. It's simple to do. It can be work, but that makes a huge difference in the success of your fence, keeping things in or out.
That's what you're talking about right there, John, right?
That's the exact brand that we use. We did the entire property with that.
Yep. It's totally worth it because you'll only have to do it once. And
it lasts way longer than welded wire. My garden has welded wire, but my perimeter fence is that, and it's not the 4x4, it's the 2x3. because that actually keeps things in and out better. Especially if you put a nice strip of electric wiring right at the top. Just enough to get a nose on a dog. The roof sells from tin roof replacement after severe hailstorms. 2 foot buried.
Rain and wind.
Yeah. Well, and that means the wind doesn't flow through it.
Yeah.
Right?
Which she may want because she's trying to keep the plants from having the complete shit beat out of them. I've had windy springs where I've like rigged up a little wall with plywood or something for that very reason. What you could do then, though, is you could set up your outer fence in the wire, and you could build windbreaks if you need them, if that's why you're doing that. But you're probably, I mean, if you have an 80-mile-an-hour wind and you have a flat surface horizontal against it, something's going to give. Sooner or later, something's going to give. I've seen some of the windstorms we've had here. I've seen people with like they have a basketball hoop for their kid, and it's got that big backboard up there like a wing. And I've seen those metal poles that people put in the ground with concrete snap, like just snap a steel basketball goal pole. That's why we have one for my grandson. And whenever we're having really bad wind, it's got a sand base. I just tip it over and lay it on the ground. We did have it come down on the roof of the Subaru once. We learned our lesson from that.
Oops.
It wasn't even that windy. It really wasn't even that. It was like, okay, so any wind of any consequence, the damn thing goes down.
Yeah. Therefore, give it room to go down. Chase Peoples wants to know, what model is your skid steer, John?
So it's actually running outside right now. It's a SVL 75 with high flow. 10-acre property, that's plenty of machine. I was going to buy a 95, but we already had all the trails and everything built here off of a machine the size of the 75, and I didn't want to have to widen out all my trails and knock down any more trees, so I stayed with the 75. It's been able to do everything I want to do. If you're going to do it, if you're buying the machine to make money with it and you're going to run like a high-flow forestry mulcher or something like that, I would say get the bigger machine. But if you're not using it to go out and make money with it every day, I've got plenty of machine with the 75 right now.
And that brings up the usual thing about homesteads and access. Make it wider than you ever think you'll need.
Especially gates. Like if you think whatever you think you're going to bring in there, make your gate as big as you can. A man named Jack Garland, he was on one of my podcasts a couple months ago. He came out. And he said, what's the biggest equipment you're going to bring in? And I said, what's the biggest equipment that you have? And he said, a Komatsu 320. I said, okay. He said, then you need 16 feet gates. So we might as well make them 20. And that's what we did with everything. And I use all Tartar kennels, Tartar gates, just because they got a great finish on them. You can buy them readily at Tractor Supply. And then later I actually became friends with the owner of Tartar. He's got a badass Dodge Adventure van, and he actually comes here a couple times a year. Him and his sister own the company now. That company actually started with their grandfather making wooden gates. So there's some cool history there with them.
Yep. Access and infrastructure. Not infrastructure, then access.
Water access structure.
Yeah.
That's the way you evaluate a property when you're looking at a property, when you're designing a property. Those three things, and you want to make sure that when you're doing certain things that you're not designing out access. I've seen that a lot of times. People are like, well, I want a food forest here, so they put in a big ass swale and you didn't provide access. Now you've cut off your access.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways to deal with it and still do it, but don't design access out of a property, because when you think, well, I won't need to, yes, you will.
We put in these 3 big swales and we still have plenty of access.
Yeah.
But just because we have to drive around it, I don't go there nearly as much as we used to. I used to just jump on the Razor or the 4-wheeler and go all over the property every day, ride the entire fence line. And I don't anymore because of those swales. Even though all I got to do is drive 30 feet around the swale, I just don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the things you can do, I'm not saying you particularly, I'm just saying in general, if you're doing large swale projects and you have an access area, you can get a 8-foot piece culvert.
Yep.
And then culvert an access point across that swale with it, and it'll work just fine. And a lot of times, the big plastic shit You can get that for free. If you see guys doing underground work and, they've got a big chunk of that corrugated plastic and it's, 6-8 foot long, it's almost inevitably a piece that they had to cut. And a lot of times if you ask them, they'll just give it to you because they have to pay to get rid of it. If it's not getting buried, it's a problem and they'll give it to you.
Yep.
Yeah, when they put fiber down the holler, they used a lot of that like cabling that's the woven.
Poly?
Yeah, no, it was wire.
Oh, they direct buried
stretch it. No, it's up. So
okay.
It's what you attach it to,
they
right?
They lashed it to strand.
Yeah, and we ended up with like 2 end spools with parts on that, and they gave us the things to anchor it into the ground. And yeah, and they were like, you can just have it because we're gonna end up throwing this stuff away. And we were like, sweet, put it right over there. I'm sure we will find a use for that.
When I used to run sales teams, I would have everybody in a room stand up and look at each other, and I'd say, okay, everybody on the left, tell the person on the right no. And everybody on the right, tell the person on the left no. And everybody do it. And I'd say, okay, is anybody bleeding? Is anybody traumatically abused now? Do we need to get an IV fluids in here? So did anybody get harmed by being told no? And of course, you're making the point, like, prospect your ass off when you're in sales. But like, that's a big thing for, like, it doesn't ever hurt to ask. I've got freaking probably 40 yards of wood chips sitting out in my field right now because I'm just like, people are cutting shit down. Hey, will you dump that there? And they're like, well, there's gonna be some big log. I don't give a shit. And then I never have to do this, but what I always do is I'm like, what kind of beer do you drink? And I'll go out and buy a couple 12 packs of beer and I'll just leave it at the fence for them where they're going to drop it off. And then you're the cool dude that gave them beer.
What happened?
When you work like that,
it's running though, right?
There's
I muted him. Go ahead.
Okay. I almost muted him. We got a mute battle. But I mean, then you're the cool dude that gave him beer. And I mean, when you work jobs like that, a cold beer at the end of the day, like that's in your mind now. This dude gives beer for wood chips.
Yeah.
And so what's a 12 pack of beer cost? And those guys always drink the shittiest, cheapest beer. Like it's, $10, $12 for a 12 pack. And you get one of those trucks, those big box trucks, they hold like 10 yards or more of wood.
Oh, no, it's great.
Yeah.
They have not been around here since 2019. Still, it's 2023 now. Wow. Also, our power lines keep breaking because trees fall on them because they have not been here.
They don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. But
good about it here.
Our guys here, last time they came through, we gave them beer and they did not take beer because they said our boss will not let us accept beer. So apparently somebody else in our area has tried this as well. So I was like, well, it's there and I'm not saying nothing. So
we can't drink it on the job. Don't. There's a couple 12 packs there if you want. Now, what they got going on now, though, for a lot of these places, instead of the tree trimmers, they've got this machine and it looks like a giant mower deck on an arm.
Yeah.
And they drive this like flatbed truck thing with this thing mounted on it. It's like a low boy with the machine on it and a truck's pulling it. And it reaches out, it goes up under the wires, and then it basically mows the trees so that it just keeps them. And it looks awful when they're done. There's like a perfect straight line, and they drive that thing through like once a year. And we don't have a lot of lost wires since they started doing that.
You can buy those attachments for an excavator too if you have them. They have them for mini X's and everything.
Yeah. It's really cool. They went modular with it because they have another thing on it where, like, when they clean the bar ditches out, it does the same. It's like for bar ditches, but it's the same. Yep. It's the same base that it sits on.
Our company, our electric company, cuts 20 feet on each side of the power lines everywhere here, and they'll spend years every single day just cutting off power lines. Chris Watkins, who's in here, had the contract all last year and did all of the power line cutoffs in Camden here, all the city of Camden. So we got most of those wood chips were dumped here.
That's awesome because, you can never have too many of them. I would get something with a front end loader if I could get more of them.
Yep.
Then it would be worth it. I can't dig shit here. So the only thing I would be doing is moving material. And I just can't get enough to justify like a John Deere number 1 or something like that. It just isn't sufficient. And my grandson's getting older. So I'm just figuring a wheelbarrow or a trailer we have a little lawn tractor, a little John Deere lawn tractor. And I have a really nice trailer built with golf cart wheels for it. That trailer can handle more than the tractor can. we've had it weighed down so much the ass end of the tractor started lifting.
Yeah.
Up. I'm like, I think we've found a limit here.
Yeah, we can put a couple scoops of wet wood mulch into a trailer, and it's too much for some of the 4-wheelers to even pull.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Wet or dry matters a lot with wood chips.
Yeah,
and
this year it's all wet in Tennessee.
This year it's all dry. It is so dry.
You get your kids doing 75 hard, and that outside workout is always wet wood chips in a wheelbarrow.
There you go.
That's I did that workout on 75 hard.
Yeah, we did the whole strip on the whole approach in a couple years ago was me and Cody with just wheelbarrows. So we'd shovel it in and then wheelbarrow it.
Yeah. It's extra fun here because of my hills.
Yep.
He's milking an ankle injury right now, so I can't have him doing much.
Yeah, you can't.
I think he's milking it pretty hard though.
Is he shirking duck pool duty?
No, that's like, I'm like, you know what? I'll go dump them for you, but you can stand there and fill them up. Or you can, like, oh, it hurts to stand. Get a chair.
Stand on one foot.
Yeah, stand on one foot. Get a chair. Lean against.
That's what I do.
You know,
and you're filling them with hoses. He's not even having to carry 5-gallon buckets.
No, it's you dump 8 tubs and you put a hose in them, and they take 2 minutes a tub to fill up. They're 20 gallons. I have 10 gallon a minute coming out of the well. So I mean, I know I can do the math, and he takes 3 times as long as it's supposed to take because he's screwing off, and I don't really care as long as it gets done. But yeah, he's fixing to enter a whole new world of structured work environment, though, because his goal in life is to not work. But he also has no entrepreneurial bent. If you have a desire to not work a specific type of work, and you have an entrepreneurial bent, that's awesome because you have extreme motivation to build something. If you lack that physical work ethic and you don't have an entrepreneurial bent, you're going to be at Walmart going, here's a cart. I mean, you got to do something.
He'll develop that after he works at Waffle House for a few months, or
I told him that.
Or McDonald's.
Yeah,
I mean, that's every kid coming out of high school should work a fast food job for 6 months. So you have that appreciation, and you know that you don't want to do that. You will figure some shit out on your own after that.
Yeah, that is true. There was a lot of motivation for me to do something for myself when I worked in a turkey farm.
Yeah.
And I don't mean the kind of turkey farm we talk about. I mean an industrial turkey farm, down on my knees, scrubbing a kill floor. Yeah, I'm like, I got to find something to do with myself. I'm not going to do this shit forever.
Yep. Chuck Peoples, you can attach those to a skid steer, but anytime we put anything articulating on a skid steer, you were very limited because you don't have the second arm off of there. The throw is much lesser on that. You really want to have an X and a skid steer. If you have those two, you can do anything.
You know, if I was in the market for an excavator, one thing I would absolutely have to have on it is a grabber.
Yeah,
those are so awesome.
And you can get a return thumb, right? You can get one that's hydraulic. You can also get one that's kind of mechanical, where the thumb stays in place and then the bucket moves to it.
Yeah.
But it limits you a little bit, but you'd be amazed. I mean, as soon as you have that thing and you don't have to pick up rail ties with your hands anymore, you'll get very finite with that.
Or if you're clearing some woodland, like especially smaller trees that you can easily grub out, the ability to just pick those things up and put them somewhere is. Or if you do have like a big root clod and you need to buck it off with a chainsaw, like everybody that's ever used a saw has had binding problems and stuff like that. You just pick it up and set it there, and then you just drop that stump off of it.
Yep, we use a grapple also on the skid steer. Just pick it up and then we just buck it up.
That makes sense to me.
I'm jealous of your front end loader.
John's been telling me for like a year I need a skid steer, and he is 100% correct.
I just have a feeling it'll go tumbling down the hill with a redneck in it.
No, you get tracks. Tracks.
I'll get tracks. Yeah,
you need tracks.
Yeah. And well, it rips. I've had tires here one time, and that was a terrible idea. I was like bouncing.
Yeah.
It was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, and your property is steep.
We have wider tracks and they're low pressure tracks on everything.
Yep. So totally worth that, but the redneck does find new and exciting ways to injure himself.
Yes, he does. Oh,
We decided he got it out of the way before SRF because there's always something right before SRF that happens.
Don't think just because he did it, he can't do what he can.
But that's like when you get a new motorcycle helmet, you're supposed to drop it on the ground to get the first crash out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost everybody I knew in my life that bought a bike did lay it down within a couple of weeks of getting it. I know one dude that didn't, but he was behind me and I saw him in the rear view and he did this kind of, and you're like, oh, there it goes. And somehow he got, and he wasn't experienced either. And I'm like, don't think you're going to get away with that over and over again.
Yeah.
I don't like motorcycles, to be honest. I want to stay alive.
So I love riding motorcycles. And when I moved to Tennessee, I sold my motorcycle before I came here. And about 3 or 4 years ago, I was like, you know what? It's stupid I don't have a motorcycle. They are not expensive. I can go riding on these awesome curvy roads. It'll be really fun. And then my friend was on the awesome curvy road and somebody passed the middle line and he is alive and he did not get a head injury because of his helmet, but it took him 9 months to be able to walk again. And I was like, maybe God's telling me something right now and I should listen. Maybe I don't want to do that. And I started looking at how people drive on the curvy roads. And I was like, you know what? I think my motorcycle times might be behind me.
You know, I spent a lot
I'm telling you all I'm a motorcycle wimp now. That's basically what I'm saying.
I spent a lot of time on the roads around here at one point in my career, like 10 years of driving long distance back and forth. And I saw a lot of people seriously screwed up in motorcycle wrecks. And it just like, there's nothing between you and the road. Yep. And I get it. It's fun. I had a dirt bike when I was a kid. I used to drive like a maniac. When you're a teenager, you're stupid, but it is a risk that I no longer wish to take with my old busted ass body. And like I said, I've just seen people really jacked up. Our girl that used to take care of her pool for us, a gal named Penny, she had an injury so bad that after 6 months of trying to recuperate, voluntarily had her leg amputated because of the constant pain. And so when somebody's willing to cut their leg off and they don't have to, like it's not an infection thing or something like that, that tells you that it's a bad situation. And she was actually a lot happier once she had her leg cut off.
Wow.
Doesn't sound fun. You know, it doesn't sound right. Now, David wanted to know if you had your leg amputated, if you get to keep it. For those that don't know,
depends
David.
where you are. There are people who
you don't want to know.
The hospital will try to tell you that you can't take that out of there, but I'm in groups where people actually have had limbs amputated and they have them articulated and still have them.
That's crazy. He wanted it for a really weird reason. He probably would do this. He wanted to put it in his freezer.
Yeah.
So that anytime somebody came over, he would ask them to go get something out of the freezer and they would have to move it to get what he wanted. That was like his whole goal in life.
My buddy Josh had some dolly heads, like they practice cutting hair on. And he put some Halloween, makeup on it, froze it in a block of ice. He came home one day, and there was a bunch of police at his house when the maid or the housekeeper had seen this, and it led to a big to-do.
Yep. Okay. Question, Jack. Hoping to feed my pups raw. Any advice? I know one. I'm going to share one I learned from Dorothy.
Okay.
The chicken from Kroger's when cooking smells way better than the chicken from Walmart. So if you're going to buy cheap chicken, get the cheap chicken at Kroger's, not Walmart.
That's correct. We're not doing raw. We're cooking.
You don't need to cook it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feed raw.
Yeah, but you're feeding rabbits that you grew?
No, we feed anything. Anything that comes out, rotted meat out of the refrigerator. Not like the refrigerator turned off and we found it weeks later, but like anything. Fridge clean out, freezer clean out. We let it come up. I've got all those chickens we processed. We've got all kinds of stuff. That if your dog gets out, it is going to go eat dead shit on the side of the road. It's going to come back. So any bird shit out. If you have chickens and you have dogs, the dogs eat all the chicken shit. Watch, pay attention to it. You will see your dogs eat poop all the time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would actually answer that question that they should talk to y'all about it because we don't feed raw. We feed cooked chicken. We do ours in we found this huge electric pressure cooker. We throw them in there for about 30 minutes. It'll do 20 pounds of quarters. Dorothy pulls it, and after like 3 batches, then we throw all the bones in one big batch of bones. And we pressure cook those for 90 minutes. And they get to where like you can just crush them with your hands. And that way the dogs are getting the cartilage, the marrow, the bone meal, all of it. And she likes doing it, so I'm not going to stop her.
Like you can feed, like you always hear chicken bones, right? Cooked chicken bones are the issue. Your dogs can eat, and I'm not telling you, Jack, I'm telling whoever's listening. We feed whole chicken to all of these animals here. The dogs can eat every single bone. It's when it's cooked that becomes brittle and splinters. Yeah,
there's a midpoint where it's cooked enough to crystallize, and it hasn't cooked enough to start to fall apart.
Now, keep in mind,
dangerous.
Keep in mind, these are outside dogs. They never have seen the inside of this building. Yeah. These dogs, they poop out. Now, our animals also, when they poop, it is a very solid, big turd full of fur, and the fur on the rabbits. Joel Riles will tell you that it actually kind of corkscrews out and cleans out all their insides.
I could buy that.
Yeah.
You see poop out here full of feathers, like whole chicken feathers. They don't digest it.
And Hunter's saying, what about going back and forth to kibble? And I think the issue with going from one kind of food to another with any animal is intestinal problems happen.
So we do that. When I have a ton of eggs and I haven't prepped anything to feed them or I don't want to kill rabbits off, I use Purina One Pro Plan puppy chow. It's very expensive now. When we were buying it a couple years ago, it was $50 for a 50-pound bag. It's now $90 for a 47-pound bag. I take a scoop, put it in the dog bowl. I got big stainless bowls so my dogs don't chew them apart, and they don't tend to carry them around a lot because they are stainless steel. And then I break a bunch of eggs. I take all of the dirty eggs, or when I find a nest of eggs, or when I have just so many eggs, I'll put about 12 of them on top. And I have because one of my dogs is dumb. She won't crack the eggs. So I have a spackling trowel, a metal one. And I just bust open the eggs and give them to all 3 dogs separate, because you'll have food. When you start feeding like that too, you'll have food aggression on an animal that doesn't have food aggression.
Yeah, because they like it that much. Yep. We do that too with the eggs all the time. As far as kibble here, Dorothy throws like a handful of kibble in every bowl. But what John just said is why you should be feeding your dog something other than dog food. So you basically said that the Purina One is more than $1 a pound. It's almost $2 a pound now.
Yeah.
We buy a 10-pound bag of leg quarters from Kroger for $7. Right? So it's about 70 cents a pound. If you're paying 70 cents a pound or more for dog food, you could be feeding your dogs chicken. And, I'm not really, he was, Hunter's worried about having some supplement as far as some other nutrients and all. There's probably nothing that's not in a chicken that a dog needs, especially like where John and Nicole are feeding whole rabbits, because then they're getting the organ meats and all. Yeah. We feed our dogs a little bit of liver as an extra kick. And we don't really need to be using the kibble. But again, since my wife does everything, she has to do it the way she wants. That's like a duocracy thing.
If you have any butcher shops around you, we get all of the clean out off of the big bone saws. So when they're sawing all the meat, all that calcium and all that fat and meat comes out the backside. I got a buddy that gives me 30-pound sacks of that stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
You will find also your butcher shop can't sell the livers. They will give them to you. They will give you the organ meat for your dog. If you just have a relationship, make friends with somebody, they will give you a truckload of that shit literally every day. You will have to go buy freezers just to hold the amount of stuff they're going to give you.
Yeah, I saw some chick on TikTok, and she just calls, and it's like a supermarket too. It's not even like a dedicated butcher shop. And she'll ask them, what day would be the best to get fat trimmings. And she'll go down there and get like 5 big plastic wrapped things of fat trimmings, and they just give it to her.
Or expired meat. Expired meat clean out too.
Yeah. Well, she's buying it for herself. She's making tallow and Crispies and all, but so it's not, she wouldn't want expired, but it's just whatever day they have their shipment coming and they're going to do all their cutting that day, they end up with more fat than will work for their grind. And they'll just, because otherwise they're going to throw it away. And it's all packaged like it's for sale. It's just price $0.
That's cool.
Yeah, when we did the chicken processing workshop, I put the piles of innards that nobody wants in dog-sized portions and froze them.
There you go.
It was not the most fun part of that workshop for me, but I was just sitting there. They were all on the ground. I'm like, I'm sitting there on the ground doing it. Everybody's like, what are you doing?
Now we're going to teach you how to package up innards.
That's how you feed your dogs off your waste.
I sold chickens for $50 a chicken one time. Really, it was $100 a chicken. I had a bunch of birds that need processing. I did an add-on workshop for $100. You process 2 chickens, you get to keep 1.
Yeah.
It was fun. They were also those giant ass red ones, the Red Rangers or whatever they are, the rainbows or whatever. I don't know if I'll ever raise those things again because the leg quarters on them are like the size of a turkey.
Nice.
You can cook the shit out of them, and those bones still look bloody red. I don't know what it is with them, but
and you can take all those in. You don't have to package them. Like the dog doesn't care if that shit's freezer burned. Like we do that for us. Like that makes you feel good about that. You can, vacuum seal it, make them sit in there nice and flat. You don't have to do none of that shit. Put that shit in some tubs, some little sand buckets from the beach or whatever. Put them in the freezer, freeze them. Your dog doesn't care.
It's true. But it's easier to fit it if it's a shape that fits. That's literally why I do it. Yeah. And I didn't even put it through my vacuum sealer because I didn't want the air from the innards getting into my vacuum sealer. Yep. I was like, we'll just put that in Ziplocs.
And if you really do this, if you have 4 or 5 dogs and you're processing and taking the time to package that stuff up nicely, and you actually paid yourself what you actually make, you'll find that you can buy up for $5-6 grand. You can buy a walk-in freezer where you just have all that shit on carts and you literally just set it in the freezer. It will pay for itself in a year if you're honest with yourself and actually pay yourself what you're capable of making to do those tasks.
Most people will never figure out what their time is worth, though, and that makes their time not worth what it's really worth. I mean, that's just something people just don't do. They don't want to look at it that way.
Your time is worth whatever you can consistently get paid over and over and over.
Yep. Or what you pay yourself if you're running your own thing. I have a starred question here from K-Bonk from a former topic, and that is, John, any attachments you would not live without on your skid steer besides the forks? Okay,
just today, we dropped the tooth. I have a big tooth bucket for digging. It's 6 feet wide. We dropped that, put pallet forks on, moved a ton of black pipe, very heavy 3-inch and 2-inch gas line black pipe. Then we put the flat bucket. My guy scraped all the gravel back. We're uncovering all these septic tanks right now. And then the tooth bucket went back on. So we've used all 3 of those today. If you couldn't you could do with one or the other, right? You could do with a tooth or a flat bucket, but a grapple, something that you can lift up logs with. And it can be just a caged grapple. You could do a root rake on the bottom. But if you had those things, you could do 99% of what you need to do, and you could rent the other implement. Like any place you rent tractors from, they rent just the attachment also.
Which is nice. I mean, I see that coming out of our farmers co-op and stuff all the time, that they have all sorts of different attachments you can grab.
Yep.
Because why do you need all of the attachments all the time that you don't use?
I'm not sure how to answer that one.
So how to figure out what you are worth when you do $100 an hour work for $3 too often?
Well, you're a fool.
No.
You're a fool if you're doing
no.
That. I assume you're talking about somebody else. If you can take your time every day and get paid $100 an hour, 8 hours, if you can do that over and over and over, why are you doing that for $3? Usually this is us talking about somebody else who is not us when we say these things.
Yeah. But the word you need to know is a full sentence. It's 2 letters and it's no.
Yeah, no can be a complete sentence.
I had to learn that too. There was a time when I said yes to everything, and now I say no. Especially if it's not paying. It is not fair to ask me to do something for $3 an hour.
Yeah.
If I decide to donate my time for something, I decide that it's a decision I make in the context of my entire financial well-being.
There are things that if it does need doing and it does not net me what it needs to net me to make it worth my time, I'll just pay somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pay somebody that's going to do it quicker and faster and right and I'll go do something else. There's a lot of shit that I've had done here on my property. I can do it. It'll just take me 6 months of working on it a little at a time. And every hour that I'm not in my business, working inside my business, is costing me money. And what I'm paying that person to do it is a fraction of the cost of what it'll cost me. And once you get into that, this whole emotional connection to things just goes away. This is a logical and mathematical decision. This is not an emotional decisions in business do not go together. I'm not saying don't have any compassion for people that work for you or anything like that, but overall, you have to get very Machiavellian when you're doing stuff like this and you're making decisions. Like I always talk about, don't waste your dash. Well, when you're working for $3 fucking an hour and you're actually worth 100, you didn't just say you're worth 100. You actually can make 100. You're wasting your fucking dash unless you love what you're doing so much that it's fun. And if it's recreation and there happens to be a little bit of money coming out of it, that's fine because we all do things that are recreational. I go fishing. I'm not making any fucking money and I don't care. Right. And it's the most, especially if I hire a guide, that'll be like the most expensive 15 pounds of fillets that I've ever purchased. But I'm doing it for recreation. I'm not confusing it and trying to make the case that when I hire a guy like Omar to take me out or my guy in Florida to take me out, that I'm doing it because I'm going to get a return of investment by the product that comes back. I'll eat it. I'm happy to have it. But if I really wanted fish, I could have bought it for less. And so you have to start looking at things in your life. Am I doing this thing because I just want to? And then put that in a recreational category. And if it spits something out, it spits something out. If it's for the purpose of making money and it doesn't make you money, stop fucking doing that. And I've seen a lot of homesteaders and shit. Like they have all these rabbits and stuff and they're going to make money on them. They've had them for 3 or 4 years. They haven't made $1. Kill the fucking rabbit, feed it to the fucking dog, right? Like you're not going to make money if you're not making money. Like you have to give the shit that you're going to pick up as a revenue model a certain amount of time to prove itself. And if it doesn't prove itself, kill that shit. Like
Jack,
so many people do it.
Jack, role play this with me. Hey, Jack, I'm doing a new conference in Colorado Springs, and I wanted you to keynote there. How much will that be?
At least $6,000. Tell me more.
Oh, man, $6,000. That's a little over our budget. Like I only have $250, but I'll buy your flight. Would that work for you?
Absolutely not.
Crap. You really should do this because all of the preppers need to learn from your devout wisdom. Okay. Why can't you do it for $250? Like you should be willing to, like, why are you being so greedy with money? Because $6,000 is an obscene amount.
Well, that's when your screen goes.
So my price just went to $10,000.
Yeah.
So along with first class airfare for myself and whoever I designate as my PA for the trip, plus lodging. And did I mention my fee just went to $10,000?
Right. And see, that's the thing. So
I don't want to do it, right?
He doesn't want to do it, first of all. And that's what it is worth to Jack to leave his property.
Yeah.
To go speak as a keynote somewhere because he's going to be gone for like at least 3 days, maybe more. Probably just for that. He's at the conference and he talks to people. And he can say no and somebody else is going to ask him to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And if you are not in that latter category that somebody else is going to ask you to do the same thing for $100 an hour or whatever you deem yourself worth, then start saying no and do the ones that pay best. And when somebody says I can get somebody else for $10 an hour,
go get that person.
You need to, that would be who I'd take. Like
I would go do that. Now they might suck. I don't know if they're going to do as good a job for you as I'm going to do. Or you might even get somebody that's kind of a big name, but are they going to stay there the entire time, hang out and talk to all your people and actually spend the time with people, not just show up, throw up and leave? Because that's important. Are you going to actually be there like with this type of thing? And the reason I went to $10,000 is because you were role playing being a pain in the ass. So once I know you were a pain in the ass, the price just went up.
The price just goes up.
To get rid of you faster. And I've even gotten to where when people ask me to do it virtually, unless it's like a friend or something that I'll help out, like when I get somebody that's like, well, they wanted me to do Anarchapulco virtually again this year. So it's $1,100 to do it virtually.
Yeah.
Well, we can't afford that. The hell you can that?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. So but you can't afford me if you can't afford that. Like, well, I understand why you'd want to charge. Yeah, because my time's worth money. And you're going to take my content, you're going to repackage it and resell it in all these other packages. And I'm fine with that. But then you're going to pay me to do it.
and give you access to 100,000 plus, audience.
Well, that's what they said. They said, well, we have a affiliate program, and you could earn. I'm like, that's extra. Like, I'm gonna. If
they should do that with you now anyway.
If you give me $6,000 to do a public appearance, I am going to put out 4 or 5 blog posts about it as we lead up to it. Assuming you don't book me 2 weeks before it happens, it's going to go in my daily mail to thousands and thousands of people. I'm going to actually help you promote it, but I'm not doing it for free. And honestly, I say no almost all the time anyway. I don't even throw a number out there. I keep talking about putting a speaker page with all the fees and stuff on the site. I'm like, if I do that, fucking people will want me to do it. And then I'll feel obligated because I said this is what it costs. I don't like to travel anymore, and I have to. When I travel, I want to go fishing. I mean,
when your friend asks you what you're doing this weekend, they're qualifying you right now. The answer is, I don't know. I'm not doing what you're about to ask me to do. Because if it was worth doing, you would start with, hey, do you want to go do this cool thing?
Yeah. Now, I have thought about doing this thing. I think maybe everybody should do this at one point in their life. I've thought about telling everybody in my see, I'll ruin it now by putting out publicly, telling everybody I know locally, within an hour or two of my house that something bad happened and we have to move. And I need everybody here like next Friday, and then see who comes. But when you show up, we're not moving. There's like a fucking band, like a badass party, just to say thank you for being the friend that'll show up when I have to move. Yeah. Because that is when you find out who your real fucking friends are. Nobody likes moving.
And builder of castle, man, like all that shit stopped when we left California. And I know right now you're like, I can't move. When you move, you will find, I get asked all the time, hey, when you coming back? I haven't been back in 20 years. Maybe you got the hint. I'm not coming back. It also hasn't been important enough for you to come here. And I have a ton of shit going on. So I'm not leaving here. I can fly you here. I can bring you here. You can move here. People come and literally move here. But not these dudes asking when I'm coming back to California. I'm never coming back to California.
So look at this here. And I like hunters, so don't take it wrong, dude. But Jack and the rest of you are well established. What about us just starting? Do you not think we all just fucking started at some point? Do you not think we were all fucking broke? Do you think I didn't fucking live on whole chickens and ramen noodles for 2 fucking years of my life?
Dude, I went to federal prison for 22 months, came home.
There you go.
The minute I got to the halfway house, I was served divorce papers and a restraining order. I didn't even have a driver's license or a social security card to prove who I was. Yeah. I got 3 companies to give me part-time work equaling 80 hours a week. The first week I was home, and had to drive 45 minutes to sleep at the halfway house for 6 weeks. So I don't know if I can do it. I don't know why you can't do it.
Yeah, he just put a big softball on the tee for John there. And
I mean, that was perfect.
I didn't go to prison, but I was born the son of a bootleg fucking coal miner in one of the shittiest parts of the country that there is.
Escape.
I left, and I'm telling you, leaving, especially when you're just starting out, it's going to be easier to leave when you're just starting out than later on. And a lot of times leaving is more about the fact that you left than where you went to. There's something that happens in the psychology of especially young people who are hungry for success. When they make that commitment to uproot their life and go somewhere else, it's kind of like a domestic version of the immigrant effect. You got all these people that come here fucking penniless from these poor ass countries, and in 10 years they're fucking real estate millionaires. Because once they figure out something works, they just keep doing the thing that works, and they don't fuck around doing things that don't work.
Yep.
And it's because they get here and they go, holy shit, you mean I can own a piece of property? Some of these people come from places where it's not even possible, like because of a caste system or something. They can't even be a property owner. So when they come to America, they look at our opportunity and they go, oh, wow, right?
Yeah.
It's like a little kid that gets on an airplane, looks in the cockpit back when they used to leave the door open and goes, wow, right? Like we've lost that because we're so comfortable with what they had. This is semi-related, but there was a thing out today about the government's talking about maybe we need a limited draft. And as much as I hate the idea of indentured servitude, which is what that would be, on some levels, I'm like, fucking do it. Get all these fucking kids that are rah-rahing fucking World War III and watch how quick that attitude changes when it's not, something that'll happen way the fuck over there that I'm not part of. I'll just sit with a joystick playing video games. I mean, there's something being lost. And you've got so much opportunity in front of you. I did a show on this, that wall of Cant that we came up last time we were together. I did the show called The Wall of Cant. And what I said is all these people that are talking shit, the boomers took my stuff. The boomers fucked it up, right? That's just such a meme now. Everybody and anybody that's fucking 35 or older that says do your fucking shit and get it done is a boomer to these people, right? Even though they're fucking Gen Xers or
calluses.
Whatever.
Nobody knows who Gen X is. We're hiding in the background.
Like we're a forgotten generation, But you have so many opportunities that those boomers did. And if you're a boomer, then you were coming up in the world in the 1970s. Okay, they're probably hitting a shittier decade economically in the United States that any living person was an adult and lived through, that's still around and has all their faculties. I was a kid, and I remember how hard it was watching my dad build a business in the middle of that shit. You talk, well, interest rates are 6-7%. How about 18% These boomers that you're talking shit about, when they went out to get their first mortgage, they had interest rates as high as 18.5%. Go look at a house that was built between 1978 and 1982, and I'll tell you what you find. Fucking shortcuts in it everywhere because people couldn't afford to build with even the quality they're building with now because they were cutting every corner that they could. This house was built in 78. Ask me how I know, as Nicole says. So you instead of worrying about what somebody the fuck else has, you need to worry about getting what you want. And I'd say the first step in that is define what the fuck you want. Because most people, what they just want is more. Well, what does that look like? It's like trying to take a road trip, but you don't know where the fuck you are or where the fuck you're going. If you want to go from Jacksonville to Philadelphia, that's fucking easy. But if I drop you off in the middle of the country, you have no idea who you are, and I say go somewhere, and there's one place you really need to be going, and I don't tell you what it is, you get no fucking chance. So the first thing you do is figure out where you are, then where you want to go to, then make a plan, then execute it. And you can keep making excuses, or you can get what the fuck you want. You can make excuses or money. You cannot make both. You can make excuses or progress. You cannot make both. And when I say that, some people are like, well, all the guys in Congress do is make excuses and they get plenty of it. It's like, you're just trying to fucking find a way out because you're uncomfortable with what I'm telling you. And by the way, those motherfuckers are really good at keeping power, which is their actual fucking job. Right?
Those guys in Congress.
And sucking off lobbyists, which is their actual job. So they're actually good at what they do. Just you think they do something different than what they do. So why don't you go be good at something and get really great at it and monetize the ever-loving shit out of it and know why you're doing it the entire time. What does your life look like when you get what you think you want? And most people have no idea, so they will never do it because without that, you don't have the motivation to do the shit that's fucking hard, right? All I knew at the very beginning was I wanted more. And so if I could walk across the street and make $2 an hour more, then I would do it until I figured out what I wanted. And it was just, I'd work extra, like John, I worked extra jobs. You know, I had one job, worked 40 hours a week normal, and I had another job, worked about another 40 hours on top of it. Why? I wanted more.
If you have time to worry about what somebody else is doing right now, you're not using your time. Like, you have the ability to work all the time until you literally fall asleep. They have no calluses, man. There is nothing. They don't get their electricity turned off anymore. It doesn't matter, man. But I don't even know why we have not with these guys here, but like it's just fucking constant all the time. If you have time to complain, why are you on this thing? Why are you not at work? Like if all my shit burnt down and I had to start from nothing with nobody, I would drive 45 minutes up the road and I would download every app I could for Grubhub and Uber Eats and Lyft and everything else. And I would sit there in an air-conditioned car, and I know all my shit burned down. I'd steal a car if I had to. Like you guys people are just calibrated. What if? I didn't even have a business license for 10 years. I didn't even file taxes for 10 years. I just started my business and then went to the IRS and said, hey, I got some shit to tell you. Like if you want to make it happen, you're going to make it happen. If you're talking about making it happen, it's never going to happen. And you're going to end up 50 years old and it's just going to be too late for you.
Don't tell me you don't have opportunities that the boomers didn't. When there's a fucking website where you can literally get paid to go fucking dog walk people for people and do pet sitting and what have you. It's called Rover. I've got it on the screen right now if you're on the video, right? Rover.com. And you can go there and you can set up a profile, and people come and they figure out, like, they'll look up different pet sitters and pet walkers. And if you don't think there's any money in this, then you don't know how it works. I had a good friend named Kathy in New Jersey. She quit her job. She was knocking down about $150,000 a year before this thing even existed. Just walking people's dogs. As it turns out, the people that will pay to have their dogs looked after during the day and shit, they're fucking rich people. Poor people don't do that. Rich people do that, right? Rich people have the little dog. They're never going to have a kid, and they want to treat it like their child, and they'll pay somebody $100 a day to come visit that dog for a fucking hour. Yep. And you're going to tell me you don't have opportunity today like the boomers did when they were busting their ass fucking building highways and paying 18% mortgages? Like, I'm not saying some things aren't harder. I'm just saying that there's always trade-offs, and you choose what you focus on. And John, Nicole, all of us, we're just fucking done with loser language.
I made $50 this weekend for 15 minutes of work.
Okay.
Because I have my property listed on Hip Camp, and I've already got an outdoor shower and outdoor outhouse and all the infrastructure. And I saw the people when they arrived, and that was the last time I saw them.
You have this.
That's $200 an hour.
The answer, you can talk to anybody in the world 24 hours a day. You have the answer to everything. You can start a business with content creation where you literally have no tangible physical product. You literally rip content off of other people's YouTube, load it to yours, and do voiceovers, and they can even digitize that. You could even just use it through AI. There are companies, there are YouTube platforms, channels right now making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a week, and they didn't even make their content.
Yeah. Yeah, they're doing better than the three of us are.
Absolutely.
But they're producing commercialized bullshit. And turns out people like commercialized bullshit.
Yep.
That's why I get really fun. And I know I sound like a freaking raving boomer when I pull yourself up by your bootstraps, youngin'. But I just look at this and go, if this was here when I was 20, I would have been a multimillionaire by 30. Like, the opportunities you have are so absolutely insane today. And it's anything from what John's talking about going more commercialized, but while you need money, then you hustle. There's freaking a side hustle where you put together tough sheds. Right? I know guys that make $300 to $500 a day, and they have, once you get your tools in your trailer, you just get a work order and you go pick the fucking thing up. It's all a kit. And I watched a dude that put my little 8x8 one in. He did it in about an hour. Like, he was so late in the day, I'm like, fuck, this is going to take 2 days now. He was in and out of here so fast, you would have thought he mowed a lawn versus built a structure. And I know they make good money because our mutual friend Brian from Washington, he does that too. And he says he makes good money. He also does the shit with, like, the Uber Eats and all. And what he does, though, whenever he's driving around, he turns it on. He only does it when he's out anyway, and he only takes the ones that pay well. But some weekends he'll make an extra $300 or $400 delivering food. Because, again, who orders food to have it delivered that costs twice as much as getting off their ass and driving down into town and picking it up themselves? Rich people, right? Or people with more money than brains. Maybe they're
you've got some crisis going on, and you're like, it's worth it to me to spend $50 for that hamburger today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing, too. Like, there are normal people that just, like, something went nuts, and I want to take care of this, and whatever. But mostly it's people that are affluent. So they tend to, like, tip well, right? And if you've ever ordered shit like that, you know that when you up the tip 1 degree, it seems like food comes a little bit fucking faster, right? Yeah, like the guy's a little more motivated. You get a Brian to pick your shit up instead of somebody that's lazy, And I'm not saying that everybody needs to do that one thing, but there are so many things you could be doing. When you tell me, but you're well established or whatever, I'm like, well, why the fuck don't you get yourself established?
The guy that came and moved my shed back 10 feet was $1,000. He didn't even have to put the shed on a truck. He does 4 to 6 of these a day, he said, $1,000 minimum. I tipped him an extra $500 just because out of the 20 dudes, he was the one that showed up. Nicole,
I know how hard that was.
We tried 18 months to get a dude to come just move this shed. The machine to do it costs about $45,000. I'm sure you could lease it, you can rent it. I'm sure there's a lot of things you could do with it. There's a local dude here running around on the Facebook groups every day. So obviously he's got a phone. And every day, it started off kind of boo-hooing. And he looks like he kind of got out of prison and somebody threw him some work. He worked every day. People have put up, hey, I had this guy come over. He cut these trees. He built up this brush pile. He cleaned up my property. Within a week, somebody gave him a Ford Explorer. Now he's living in his Ford Explorer. And every night he posts, hey, I need work for tomorrow. And every day somebody throws him some more work. That dude literally had 2 shoes. He was just walking. Looks like they just let him out of jail, and he's now building things up. All you need is this. That's literally all you need. And for all these guys complaining, I got a buddy with multiple sclerosis that is wheel bound. He is bound to a wheelchair. He worked here for years. That dude's 3D printing shit. He's on social media every day, and he literally can't get up and function. I have no, like, it's just baffling. It's just mindset.
The guy that runs the butcher shop I use is confined to a wheelchair. And I talked to him. He built that whole business after the injury that caused him to be wheelchair bound. So he's obviously not doing the meat cutting and stuff himself, but he built the infrastructure of the business, hired people, and he's there. He takes all the orders and things like that when you want to get custom butchering done. So when somebody in a wheelchair is, building a business and you're not, right? Because sympathy starts to wane really fast. And I know it, I remember being young and broke like that and feeling like, just why can't I get ahead? But at the same time, I just never stopped trying, just never.
How can I get ahead?
Yeah.
That's what you need to say to yourself. How can I get ahead?
What am I doing wrong turns into what do I need to do right? Like that mindset that little tiny shift in mindset is so important. When I started learning about web marketing and stuff like that, I had some pretty decent virtual mentors on like SEO and stuff like that. I'm like, why won't you just tell me what to put on the goddamn tags or whatever? And it was always like, because then it won't work. You have to figure out how to do it so that you have the skill set. Otherwise, you're just creating duplicate content. And that's how you have to look at all of this stuff. Like, even if you have somebody mentoring you or advising you, they're not going to make it easy. If they're worth a damn as a mentor, they will never make it easy for you. They will never tell you what you want to hear unless what you want to hear happens to be the truth, right? They'll never tell you what you want to hear because they know you want to hear it. If you give them an idea they think is stupid, they'll probably say something like, I think that's a stupid idea, but I might be wrong. Maybe I'm not seeing what you see in it. I tell people that exact thing 10 times a week. Somebody will email me, what do you think about, doing a bit like this? Like, I think it's a dumb idea. but I don't know where you're coming from with this. And my opinion being positive will have no impact on your success. So if you can figure out how to make this work and it's something you really want to do, maybe you should do it. But I wouldn't, because half the time they really want to know your opinion. And half the time it's, will you help me with this or something like that? And my thing with helping people with businesses is I've learned you get that shit running successfully and making customers happy for a fucking year. And then we'll talk. Because helping people out of the gate has done nothing but burn me. And
well, Jack, that's how you give advice, right? You're like, I'm like, hey, I want advice. And you'll say one thing. And I'm like, what else? And you're like, one thing. And then it's like, okay, is Nicole going to do that one thing? Because until she does that one thing, I don't have more to say, because before that's done, it's not done. So do the thing.
And then you've advanced to where I'll give you 2 things.
Yeah, you gave me one last time I visited you. Yeah. So I was like, I guess that one thing's really important.
Yeah. Well, because so no matter what I'm going to say is the next thing can be a shiny object that you go do before the first thing.
Yeah.
And then the second thing doesn't work because it's part of a holistic plan. And so if you give somebody instructions on how to do surgery, but you don't start off with how to prep the patient and do the first incision, telling them what to do inside the body is not going to do them any good, because they got to get to the incision open, right, and get access to the part of the body that they're going to operate on. And running a business or building a brand or anything like that is the same thing. There's certain fundamentals that need to be in place that advanced strategies will not work with until those fundamentals are in place. And those fundamentals are going to do 90% of the work for you.
Yeah.
Automation blows when you're setting it up, but once it's done, it's pretty fucking nice.
Yes.
When I can do a post on the blog and all the social media does everything by itself, except for fucking Noster. That's nice. If it sends a thing to Telegram and
Instagram,
and then it pings over the email, and the email goes out once a day, and I do very little work. But that was a pain in the ass to set up. But It's nice now because now it never doesn't happen.
Yeah, I love it when I can automate stuff. The other thing is when you hire people, writing the SOP is a big deal. It'll take me 4 hours to write, this is how you do the thing.
Yes.
But it's every step.
Yeah,
and then it saves me many hours for the rest of the year.
And also when it's not done right, you can go turn to page 5, read that. Do you understand why you did it wrong? Yes. Okay. Will you fix it tomorrow? Yes. Any answer other than yes and yes results in I don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
You can't follow a simple, or if I fucked it, oh wait, why are you confused? Oh, I wrote that like shit. Let me fix it. There you go. Now, can we do this? Because about half of the people you work with can, and half never will. They got to go.
I think John knows all about that.
I feel like people, they consume a ton of content, so they have access in some manner, right? So they want to have that conversation. I don't think they want to actually start the business. They just want to talk about starting the business. Or somebody has a business and they have a line of communication with you, and then you give them the things and they're like, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. If they're going to do it tomorrow, they're never going to do it. If they literally, if they can implement it literally right now with this thing within a couple of minutes, if they wait till tomorrow, you don't ever want to mess with that person. The guy that's going to do it tomorrow, that guy's already off the radar. There's just so much shit. I forward stuff off social media to about a dozen people a day. And when they don't reply to it or say, hey, I did this, you're just off my list. Like, I'm done fucking.
Why am I going to push a string?
Yeah, because these are all real shit. Like if I'm sending you something, it's real. It's actionable immediately. Like you can literally go and steal all of your ClickFunnels from anybody who you deem to be competition.
I got that one.
You can literally go take whatever big event is out there, Nicole, and rip every subscribed person on their list and target them with any of your marketing. You could go to whatever boutique coffee company is out there within 500 miles of you and literally pull off everybody who has given them money.
That's what John's been sending me the last week and a half, as a matter of fact. That was a summary. And it's simple, but it takes work.
It takes 2 programs. It doesn't take work.
Yeah.
Like, let's not bullshit it. It doesn't take fucking work. It takes about 15
No, it takes work. You got to do the 2 things, and then you got to do the marketing, and that takes time, and that takes work.
But it's work.
But it's not like insurmountable work. It's work worth doing. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't mean that as a negative thing.
The thing we're getting here is the whole simple versus easy thing.
Right.
All the shit we're telling you to do is simple. It may not be easy, because what easy is to get up and eat pizza out of the refrigerator and go half-ass your job for the day and try not to get fired. Go out drinking with your fucking buddies after it's over. And if you're actually put together a little bit, take a fucking shower before you go to bed, right? Like that's easy, right? Playing video games is easy. Simple is something you can do, but it may not be easy. And I'll put it this way: even if it's easier, there's probably even if it's easy, there's probably some easier. And people are so comfort oriented, they gravitate to the easier. There's also, like, I will admit that sometimes there's things I could be doing to build my brand bigger, but you do get to a point of comfort. Like, I don't worry about paying bills, and I don't want to,
But you don't need to build your brand bigger. You have it where you want it.
Yeah.
You don't have to be hungry. You're not on here asking people for advice about starting a company.
That's correct.
Now, Nicole just finished 75 Hard. Nicole, 90 days ahead of time, planned when she was going to do this, when she was traveling, so she could get 2 workouts and plan her meals.
Yep.
So that's bullshit. 15 minutes. She used that word, it's hard. It's not hard for Nicole. Nicole coddles other people and gives them the excuse for that. And we try to worry about stepping on feelings. Nicole did something that literally less than 1% of the population would even be willing to try
Yep.
and completed it. It literally is just action versus inaction.
Yeah.
And I will do it again. That's what I know. I'm not doing it at this minute, but I'm going to do it again.
And there is a problem. A lot of people that fancy themselves as mentors, they're not tough enough. I used to tell my old buddy Neil when we were business partners that you take these people and you see something in them they don't see in themselves, and that part's good. But then you give them opportunities and they do not aggressively pursue the opportunity that you're giving them. I said, I used to tell them, you're breathing for this fucking person. Like, you don't fucking throw them in the pool with water wings on. Throw that motherfucker in the pool. Tread water, swim, do fucking something, or sink.
You know who Dan Pena is?
I know the name.
Old man, motivational speaker, calls himself the $4 billion man, right? So now if you want to go to his events, they're like 25 grand. You go to his island in Scotland, to his castle, for a 5-day, 7-day event. He used to take kids and give those to people, and they would never perform, right? So he would fill his class up with about 25% of people that he felt sorry for. They never performed, thus his success rate was 75%. He says his success rate now is 100% on all of his students because it's 26 grand to get there. You either have the money and you come from success, or you're going to steal the money and you are desperate enough that you're going to make this happen because you got a hold of the money to be there. So everybody there is qualified.
That's a great qualifying line, and that goes back to the $3 question an hour.
It's beg, borrow,
You qualify your customers by if they will pay you $100 an hour. I would rather work 5 hours at $100 an hour in an entire month and have $500 than lose my mind at $3 an hour and make $500 because it's going to equal the same amount of money. So then you have all that extra time to go do something else and figure out how you're going to make your life work. And you will get more $100 an hour gigs if you only take $100 an hour gigs. In fact, you should be asking for $250 an hour at that point.
I worked 80 hours a week when I came home, part-time jobs, right? All three of those, and made $960,000 through the business that I started in my mother's garage with 2 sewing machines, in additional to the 80 hours a week, right? It's just what everybody's got 24 hours in the day. You better figure out how to make that 48 hours. And the only difference is what you do with your time.
Yep. Wow, that got us off on the whole thing.
One question from poor Hunter. He probably ran. He's like, fuck this. I like that dude, though.
I do too.
I think Hunter was restating the other dude's question. And I think if you actually spoke to the other dude, you're going to find out that he's working for family members or somebody friends.
Okay.
And you're also going to find that if he simply moved or changed his phone number, most of that bullshit, you have to limit access.
Yeah.
Think about how many dudes you haven't seen from high school that are like, hey, I'm getting married next, in 2 months. Will you? No, motherfucker, I haven't seen you in 25 years. I'm definitely not coming to your bullshit.
Yeah.
If I haven't seen you in a year, haven't been next to you and breathed and had a conversation within a year, I'm not coming to any of your stuff. I'm not coming to Christmas. I'm not coming because I'm busy doing my shit.
Yeah.
Also, John doesn't come to other people's stuff most of the time anyway.
I can't.
My filtering mechanism with my phone is if you're not in my phone, I won't even know the phone rang. It will send you straight to fucking voicemail. When my phone does ring and you're in the phone as a contact, I look over at the phone, and if there's no picture on your contact, you're also going to voicemail. But I might return your call, right? If your picture is on your contact, if I'm not engaged in something, I will pick up the phone and answer it. You are a real boy or a real girl only when you get your picture. And if it's someone that's remote, I will grab a picture of them offline or something, or take a picture of a coffee cup or something. And if there is no picture, I am not picking up the phone. You are going to voicemail.
My voicemail's been full for 20 years. That's no bullshit. This phone doesn't ring. If you want to talk to me, message me what you want.
Yeah.
Be as brief as possible so that I can give you the appropriate answer. If I can look at this and in 5 seconds know what you want, you might hear back from me.
Valid.
I have called John Willis 0 times in my life.
I don't think John's ever called me, and I don't think I've ever called John, but we talk often. But it's in short fucking one sentence, check this fucking shit out, done. And that's it. And either he does it or I do it or we don't. It's nuts and bolts. But you're going to find that people that are effective business people, this is how we operate. This is like when somebody starts telling me something and they're 4 sentences in and I still don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like, I'm done. Will you send me an email like that? Jack, I know your time is valuable, but delete. Right. And I look at there's 47 paragraphs. I'm sorry. However, if you make your fucking point and it's interesting, I might read 47 paragraphs.
And if you want to grab somebody's attention, don't email them and ask them permission. Hey, can I put your logo on some shit? Put the logo on some shit, mail it to them, right? You have to, like, there is no conversation. Dudes hit us up all the time. Hey, man, I love your podcast. We could really grow your TikTok. He doesn't, okay, where's the TikTok pages you're managing? Well, he doesn't have any. Or he didn't say, hey, here's links to the 3 Instagram pages I control. Boom, let me know if you can do business. If I look at them, and
people do that, but then I'm like, okay, give me somebody that I can talk to on that brand with a fucking email address. It's not Gmail. Right? That I can talk to as a ref, and nobody's ever been able to do it because some of the prices I've been offered to do short content and all, I'm like, I am down with this. I just don't know you and I don't trust you. And they can't ever give you a fucking, like, if you can't give me a reference that will say, hey, yeah, this guy takes care of my shit and he does a good job. If I can't get that out of you, and again, that email address better be at thismotherfuckersbrand.com, not Hotmail or AOL. You know, no. And there's nothing more boomer on the planet than still using an AOL email address, by the way.
Yeah, I had somebody email me yesterday about emergency communications on the Homestead with their solution up front in the first sentence. I have a solution for emergency communication. And then they went in to explain how to implement it. And I was like, that's fair. That's fair. But I'm already using that thing. But yes, that is fair. It's very hard when I've had a few people reach out and they don't say what they want up front. And it's like a long explanation about a topic like growing tomatoes. And what they really want me to do is cross promote their tomato growing solution or they want to know what mine looks like. I'm like, ask me if I can put something up about the wall of tomatoes that everybody's interested in and then say why.
Yeah. The other one is when they email you and ask you if they can ask you a question. Like you just did, and the answer is no.
I say it every night on live feed.
Or the other one is when they email you and they want to talk to you on the phone or bend your ear or something. If they don't tell you what it's about, like that is going straight to the deleted items file. You think I have fucking time? And I'm not even being an ass about this. It's just honest logistical time. That every person that I don't know who sends me an email that wants to spend 15 minutes on the phone with me, that I have time for that shit when I don't know what you're asking me for. And if you're trying to build connections with people who can and will help you if they see you trying, this is because I figure you're doing that to other people too. And there has to be an instant. Every successful person has instant no triggers, right? Well, like it's just, this is not a thing I can deal with. And one of the things about successful people say no all the fucking time. They say no way more than they say yes. It's not because they're dicks. It's because they value their time and how they're going to apply that time on a daily basis. And when you come in and you demonstrate that you don't just not respect it, you don't even understand it, you've disqualified yourself on the entry. The good news is you can reapproach that person because, John, when somebody sends you an email like that, you see an email a week later from that, you don't remember. If they do it right the second or third or fourth time, you'll probably give them a little bit of an in because we don't remember you. And it's because, how much shit do you expect one person to remember? I mean, my memory's good. It ain't that fucking good.
And if you get cut off from somebody, don't send another email with, hey, we started off on the wrong foot because I'm going to look your shit up again.
Yeah, don't tell me that. Just give me the new shit. Like, that's like the equivalent of drunk dialing an ex. Like, when you do that, like, 2 years ago, Jack, we had an argument and I was a dumbass and I'm sorry, and delete.
Yeah.
I don't remember you and I don't need to hear all that. I don't,
Alex Hormozy will tell you change your phone every year. You just change your phone number every year.
I ain't giving up my phone number. If you have it, you know why. The way it ends.
But successful
and like that again.
And successful people too are friends with other successful people, and they have a guy, right? If I need to buy a car of any kind, I have a guy. If I need a refrigeration of any sort done anywhere, I've got a guy. Yeah. And I know that if I need something I don't have, Nicole or Jack has a guy.
Well, and I've had like people apply to be on the show, and I'm like, I don't know, and I'm like, hadn't made a decision on whether I'm going to even vet the app yet. And then John will say, so and so apply. Just send it to Dorothy. Go ahead and book this guy.
Yeah.
If John says the guy is worth having as a guest, then I'm going to do it. So John, with a fucking 2-second text message, can get you access to somebody like me as far as my podcast goes. There's not a lot of people. Nicole can do that. There's not a lot of fucking people that would get that. There's people that would more get, well, I'll take a little bit closer of a look. But an instant, okay, well, then I'll do it. That's the very few number of people. But then the more people you know like that, the greater access you have to this multi-layered network that they've built over time. You know, I tell people one of the reasons you should come to our workshops here, even though they're in my garage, basically, is half the people you're hanging out with are multimillionaires.
Yep.
They don't, and they're the best kind of multimillionaires. They dress like us. You know, they're not all pretentious and shit. They're regular. Most of them are blue collar millionaires of some level. You know, and like that's a good network to be in.
I see a lot of comments and conversation. It looks like about pain management in the conversation on the side here. You guys should look up something called KPV. Just go into YouTube, put in KPV peptide. And also BPC, it's body protective coating. BPC 125 or 130, it's Wolverine. Just type that in there and kind of go down that rabbit hole and see if that's for you.
Yep. Well, Jack, I think we're getting near your cutoff time. Are you doing a Bitcoin breakout today?
I'm doing a Bitcoin breakout. I will be live again at 13:30. That's 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for you civilian types. And we'll be just doing, I have a whole folder full of questions on Bitcoin that we'll be talking about today.
Yep. Awesome. Well, let's go once around the horn. John
Willis, Special Operations Equipment. SOE Tactical Gear is the website. That's what we really do. We build nylon tactical gear. We put a new shirt out every week. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I'm really everywhere. I'm most active on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. I do a live every night at 9 o'clock. Jump on there, say something stupid. I'll yell at you. Jump on and just ask whatever conversation, whatever questions you have. I won't tell you what to do. I'll tell you what I did. And I don't care what you do until you tell me what you can't do.
Yep. Jack.
I'm Jack Spirko, host of the Survival Podcast. You can find it at thesurvivalpodcast.com. And even though Nicole made fun of the, I got the because there was no way to get survivalpodcast.com back in the day. But I now own that domain and it redirects. So you can just go to survivalpodcast.com.
Oh, sweet.
And I just wanted to comment here as we leave on Evan's comment here. He said that network is what the guys getting started don't understand. You have to earn your entry into it. That is an A+ comment.
Bring value.
You do earn your way in, and there's multiple ways to earn yours. Sometimes, like John saying, you bring value to the network. There's also people that we notice. They don't necessarily approach us. We notice them hustling. We notice them working, and we notice them, and then we engage with them. And that's how John and I started our relationship. I had no idea who the hell John Willis was. I think I'd been doing the show for about a month when he first reached out to me. And that's
3 episodes.
Okay, 3 episodes. Jeez. Right? Like, he's like, I make the people in my shop listen to your show. And I'm like, I want to be friends with this dude. You know, but that's because I was hustling, man. I thought about not being hungry now. I was fucking hungry back then, guys. You want access to people who will help you, go do shit and it'll happen.
Even if it's wrong, even if you fail, you just get back up.
Failing is a great teacher. Failing is a great teacher. Well, I'm Nicole Sauce from the Living Free in Tennessee podcast. That's livingfreeintennessee.com. But I do want to point out, Self-Reliance Festival is a project that John and I work on. It is a huge, awesome event at the Special Operations Equipment compound. And early bird pricing expires at midnight tonight, which means prices on everything will go up. So if you have not gotten your ticket, get it now. And if you're like, I don't know if I should go all the way to Camden, Tennessee on October 14th or 15th, and you were listening to this conversation wondering how to make the change in your life, that's the place to start. You will be around people who are doers, people who know how to take those steps, people willing to talk you through some new ideas. Plus, you get to meet John Willis in person. You get to meet Jack Spirko in person. You can meet me in person. You can meet Tag from Life Done Free in person. You can meet Joel Riles in person. All of the people you're seeing up here on these live streams are there and they will talk to you. Even Joel Salatin will be there. And I've seen how he works at events. He talks to people. He knows you're there to talk to him. He's a great guy. He doesn't just show up and throw up. $75 until midnight tonight. If you were listening to the emergency communications discussion, Zero to Hero with Ham Radio is 2 days before the event, 2-day work session on how to use radios. And Evan Dixon here from Radio Made Easy is running that class. We've had a lot of signups for that in the last couple days. We've got a poultry processing workshop starting with Joel Salatin. This is a hands-on workshop, so you will process a chicken. That's how it's different than what Joel usually does. He usually does a demo and walks off. No, you are going to get your hands bloody getting into that chicken. And then if you want to do the wound care class, Chuck Peoples from this one right here, Homestead Medical, will be doing an advanced wound care. It's an add-on. It is $145, but you're going to do a 4-hour class during Self-Reliance Festival, and you are going to go home. I believe he's sending you home with a medical kit of some sort. So that's actually worth it right there. And, as I said, let's see, he can help you arrive and the equipment and supplies you need, all of that stuff. He's a really good teacher, and he makes it accessible and memorable. And I love the work he's doing. So you can add that on today too. So that's all over at selfreliancefestival.com. Thanks everybody for joining, guys. We will see you next month.
See you guys.